my lovely humans. I appreciate your return. Thank you for being here with me. Here's what happened. I have been disappointed in so many ways. Okay, so first of all, I don't know what happened, but I have to sweep my floors because I don't know where, but somehow sand got here and I don't know how. And then the second thing was I recently went to go see the Minecraft movie. Minecraft is my favorite game, and maybe I should just make a whole separate video about it. Personally, it wasn't bad. It was not good. Okay. And I don't know how they did it not good. Of course, I think that about every book that makes a terrible movie too. I'm like, you had it written out. You have it. Why'd you do this? The main reason that I am disappointed in what we're going to talk about today, the main topic for today, is that one of the trials I was looking forward to covering, the Kouri Richins trial, which was supposed to start at the end of the month of April, which is when I'm filming this, is April 13th. And so in the next couple weeks, the trial was supposed to be rearing up to go. That's no longer happening. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to start at the beginning. We're going to do the Kouri Richins lore, kind of timeline it out. All of my resources will be linked below. I come from the viewpoint in my head as a juror who's watching things. So I'm not an expert. I don't have any legalese professional experience or education, degrees, licenses, etc. But I do use the public accessible information. The internet is full of resources, and all of mine will be linked below, because why should you trust me? I'm just a random human on the internet to you. And reason one you should trust me is because I'm giving you all of the resources below so that you can check me. Two, I'm allowing you to check me. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, you can see these things for yourself. But on the other hand, just random human on the internet. So absolutely double check your sources, especially when somebody just is forthright in saying, I don't have this professional experience. But I also stand by that you don't have to make money or be in a profession to have knowledge, understanding, or affection, like an aficionado for a subject. I often compare it to, you don't have to own a bakery to be able to know how to bake. So that's what we're going to get into. I know that I've chatted for almost 3 minutes. Let's get into the Kouri Richins lore timeline. Kouri Richins is a house flipper from Salt Lake City, Utah. So what she does is she buys dilapidated houses, renovates them, and then sells them, preferably for a profit, and then uses that money to buy other houses. So she's in the real estate flipping game. And in 2013, June 15th, 2013 specifically, she marries Eric Richins. So they get together, and he is a very successful businessman himself. He owns an LLC, a stone masonry business with and he owns his own large construction things. He owns very large professional saws, a forklift. Let me tell you, forklifts are not cheap. And a slew of other construction things that he owns and then does work with. When you own those things, you are successful. And he shared it with a business partner in which he had 50% of the profits, and they had a business together. They each had a business life insurance policies that the other partner was the beneficiary for. So he has a lot of assets, and he marries Kouri, and they have a prenuptial agreement. So the prenuptial agreement was that, like most prenups, it's, you know what, if we get divorced, you leave with what you came with. 15 and 2017, so only a couple years into being married, the two of them already start having some financial problems. Eric discovers that Kouri is not very financially sound. She makes a lot of decisions. I have my notes written down. Again, you can check all of this in the things below. I will, just a little thing here. A couple of the sources that have the timeline kind of laid out, they are not 100% accurate to what is in the actual legal documents. So I will make notes of when those differences occur. But anyway, so Kouri opens a bank account in Eric's name without his knowledge or consent and ends up borrowing $250,000 against this account with a deed of trust. And allegedly, this is all alleged, she has not been convicted yet. Most of this stuff is coming from Eric's sister, Katie, just for also future reference. So Kouri forged Eric's signature. In 2020, he learned about the additional with credit card debt too. She racked up about $30,000 in credit cards that were in his name in debt. And she also allegedly tried to use a fraudulent power of attorney to borrow and move money in Eric's accounts. And so she allegedly went up to $500,000 of Eric's money. I promise I won't use allegedly every time we turn around. But anyway, so he confronts her about this money. He finds out about the accounts because he's getting notifications. He has business partners and alerts. And when she had tried to use power of attorney to transfer his life insurance policy from his business to her name instead of the business partner's lawyer was alerted, an accountant, and he put a stop to it. And of course, they inform Eric about it. And so then Eric confronts Kouri, and she goes, and she was like, it was 2020. And she goes, look, everything has dropped. I lost a lot in, all of the craziness of 2020. I haven't been able to sell houses. It's been hard for me to get people available to finish and do renovations on the houses I have open. So I just have to get some of my renos done. And she goes, I can't have, a bunch of people, because it used to be, okay, I could have the plumbers, the electricians, the drywall guys. I could have all these different sets of people working at once on different renovations in the house. Well, in 2020, she couldn't do that because of all of the pandemic stuff that was happening. And she said, I just don't have that ability. I can only have, okay, the contract, only these drywall people can be in from this time to this time, and then the painters have to be in from this time to this time, instead of, okay, once this wall is done, the drywall people can work on something else while the painters are over here. So she was just like, yeah, I have to try to deal with what's going on in the world, and it's just really affecting my business. I'm going to pay the money back. It's just, and everyone's prices have gone up, etc. So he tries to be understanding, and he's like, okay, that makes sense. Like, I know that it's been rough for everybody in the business world, and there are certain there are some people, because they weren't essentials, she didn't have access to them, certain decorators, etc. So he tries to be understanding, but it's just too much. And the whole business insurance policy thing, that doesn't add up with all of this other stuff. And he's like, where is your assets and your business protections and things for this, instead of coming after all my stuff? So he's sus about it and decides that he's not buying it. So in October of 2020, he felt, and they have 3 children, and he was just like, with the way she has been financially, and all of this stuff had happened before 2020, it came to a head, and he found out about the majority of it. So she was doing that stuff before all of the pandemic things were happening, right? So he's like, she's not financially sound. She's not going to be able to take care of our 3 kids like this. And one of the reasons he had built up so many things and multiple life insurance policies and stuff was to secure a future for his children. He was going to hire a divorce lawyer, but the divorce lawyer thing was an option. But like many states, it's hard for fathers to get main custody of their children. He didn't want Kouri to just go off super far away and he not be able to see his kids. And so he was trying to, stick it out for the kids and stuff like that. So what he ended up doing was getting an estate lawyer. And the estate planning lawyer and his will attorney, they make a plan, and instead of having all the stuff that was set up with the prenup where all of his stuff would go to Kouri while they were lawfully married, he transferred everything to a trust, to the Kouri Richins trust fund, where his sister would be the primary beneficiary, Katie, until his children were 18, and that the remainder stuff could be divvied up, and there was a timeline set up of how much money could be released, and etc. So the house that they lived in, his cars, all of his business assets, all of those things got moved to a trust, so they would all go to the trust instead of to Kouri should something happen to Eric. January 2022, rough year for male partners, because similarly to the Karen Read trial, to the Karen Read incident, I should say, Kouri Richins starts kind of acting weird. Late January of 2022, she contacts a friend. All of this information, the contacts between friends and stuff, everything I'm about to tell you was in text messages that were recovered from her and her contacts' phones. The contact in question spilled a whole lot, because that's often what happens in these cases. Because when it comes to drug dealings, a very common thing is, people don't want like homicide charges. Drug charges, depending on what they are, they can kind of rock with it. They can make bail for that, etc. They don't want that homicide bad blood. Seriously. So the police, their federal investigators, whoever the investigators are, will go for who they think is the weakest link in the chain. And that person usually will just give it all up. They're like, listen, if you don't charge me for that, this, the other thing, I'll let you have all the info. So she contacts a friend who is a person who cleans houses that she is renovating. And she says, I have a client. He's a high-end client. He has some back pain. I need some can you get me some medicine stuff for his back pain? This is already kind of sus to me. Like, this is speculation on my part. Do you also find it weird that a client, like someone, this is your house flipping client. I imagine there's somebody in the real estate business. If this were true, okay, there's a lot of ifs, maybes, and who knows involved in this. Is it not sus to have your house flipping business associate be getting you back pain medicine rather than your doctor? Hydrocodone. All right, got it. I have very messy handwriting. Apologies. And the pills were left at a Midway house, one of the houses that were being designated, and Kouri left cash there after she picked up the pills, etc. That's how that exchange went down. Then a while later, she asked the same friend for something stronger, revealing that she specifically said, can you get me the Michael Jackson stuff? Now, for those of you who don't know, the drug that Michael Jackson took that was claimed his demise, pardon my grammar there, has to be injected, right? But what she did end up getting was about 15 to 20 pills of fentanyl, which she paid $900 for. More speculation. I know there's a lot in this segment, but $900 for 15 to 20 pills? How are you people addicted to this stuff? Maybe it's because I'm a nerd and I don't know if you've seen how much Magic cards go for, or like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder stuff. It's not cheap. You can't afford to be a nerd and a druggie, okay? $900. And she allegedly did this twice. She paid $1,800, almost $2,000 for maybe 40 pills. Both of these exchanges happened the same way, where there was a midway house, the contact dropped off the fentanyl, and then Kouri left cash there, and that's how that all went down. Well, the first time that this all goes down, moving my page over, was February 14th. Kouri Richins went to a diner that her and Eric liked, picked up his favorite sandwich from said diner. And it's Valentine's Day. She's getting some loving stuff for her husband. And she left it for him. And according to the text messages, now this is where the timelines get a little messed up, okay? So the timelines for the sources written below, the time is correct. What they say is not 100% correct, because in the actual documents against Kouri Richins, they're both KRs. I'm sorry. Anywho, she was on her way, based on her text messages, to see her lover. Oh, she was having an affair with whom the legal documents call her paramour, her other lover. And she was going to go spend time with that lover on Valentine's Day. And Eric Richins allegedly took a bite of the sandwich and became extremely ill almost instantly. He didn't finish the sandwich. He texted Kouri and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm really not feeling well. I think I'm going to go to the hospital. I think I need to go to the ER." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, is it really that bad? Just lay down. Maybe wait it out." He did just end up laying down and resting it off. But he also had texted other friends and family members that he thought that Kouri was trying to poison him through his text messages. And then there are more text messages to the contact, but what happens in between that is she had lost the contact's number, right? She was like, okay. But then she finds someone else, another contact, to get the main contact's number back. And then she texts again and says she needs stronger fentanyl. So Eric Richins eats a sandwich supposedly laced with fentanyl that allegedly Kouri put there. And then after that, she asks for stronger fentanyl. And then about 3 weeks later, early March 2022, they are celebrating, they being Kouri and Eric, they're celebrating a really big closing on a house for Kouri, and it's great for her business and stuff like that. She made him a Moscow Mule. He took a THC gummy, and the Moscow Mule was apparently laced with the fentanyl. He went to sleep. Kouri says that she called 911 about 3:30 in the morning, 3:22 to be exact. And she said that she came back to the bedroom and found Eric cold to the touch, realized he wasn't breathing, and called 911. She allegedly gave CPR because she reported that she did, but the signs of CPR were not present when first responders arrived. Kouri's story is that one of their children, their younger children, wanted her to sleep in the room with them, so she went into the child's room and was with them after Eric went to bed in their marital bed. And around 3 something in the morning, she got up. Child was asleep. She went to go to return to her own bed, and that's where she found Eric, and hence why she didn't know beforehand what had happened to him. Well, the problem with that is that she was texting other people. She was texting things to her paramour, like, just hold out until after Friday. I know things have been hard. Friday was the day that Eric Richins had passed away, March 3rd. And he was found with nearly 6 times the lethal limit of ingested fentanyl. Because when they do autopsies, this was something I learned, that they can tell how a drug was administered into your body based on how it breaks down, what side products and things are made in the body, and just how certain chemical reactions take place on certain parts of the body. They can tell if you ingested this, if you drank it, if you ate it, if it was injected, or if it was rectally absorbed. Like, there's ways to tell. Now, the reason why this all came up pretty big is because Kouri Richins was arrested and charged with the death of Eric Richins when she was on a tour for a book she wrote, a children's book about a parent passing away. And so it was a book about coping with a parent passing away, and it was becoming very popular. She was on tour promoting her book, and on that tour she was arrested. Now, in her legal documents, what she was originally charged with was, the homicide of Eric Richins. But after reading through text messages through additional discovery and, just the informant dumping information at them, the prosecution wanted her also charged with an attempted murder from February 14th. Now, if you're like, well, doesn't that have double jeopardy? You can't be charged with the same crime twice. She was never charged with a crime on February 14th. So there is no double jeopardy. There was no jeopardy in place. So they're like, we want her charged with the original attempted murder because they believe that's what she was trying to do with the sandwich. And that's why she was like, don't go to the ER, just sleep it off. And the main prosecutor in the Kouri Richins case, I kid you not, his name is Mr. Bloodworth. When you are in certain professions, pay the money to change your name. I don't know, or maybe that's what you want. Prosecutor Bloodworth. Strikes fear into your heart. I had to double check. I was like, am I reading this? Are they saying this correctly in the courtroom? Bloodworth. Okay. And before the book tour and all that stuff happened, there was also a follow-up. And before the book tour and all that stuff happened, there was also a follow-up incident that happened where after Eric Richins had passed away and before things were finalized, etc., Kouri had hired someone to break into Eric's safe where he had some heirlooms, he had a large stack of cash, and he had some other personal assets, and his life insurance policy documents were in this safe. And so Kouri had hired someone to get into the safe, and then Katie, the sister, Eric's sister, came in and stopped it all and said, you can't get into that. And Kouri's like, you need to get out of my house. And Katie informed her, this isn't your house anymore. That's not your safe, and the stuff in it isn't yours. She's like, I had a prenuptial agreement that said that if he passed away while we were lawfully married, the assets belonged to me, Katie. Get out. And Katie was like, he had all of that stuff changed over. You don't own it. Kouri supposedly, allegedly, became very angry and punched Katie in the face. The police were called, and so were the attorneys that Eric Richins had dealt with. And according to the documents, the look on Kouri Richins' face was priceless for learning what seemed to be for the first time that, yes, all of those assets that she was getting charged for ending her husband's life over, she was never going to get, because he had changed it all over to a trust. She started fighting a civil court case against the estate, saying that that stuff was hers. She had documentations. He had no right to change it without her permission and the consent. And so she has a ton of fraud charges on her. She has some estate charges, a first-degree attempted murder, murder in the second degree, and an assault charge against the sister. And you want to know who really loses in all of these cases? The kids. Because now the kids don't have either parent. Because she's in jail, locked up. They don't have their dad anymore. And so those are always the people who really lose out in these things. It's sad. So now we're in present time. She had one lawyer named Sky. There was a whole walk the dog letter. I will link to a video from Emily D. Baker where she's able to break that all down much more, much better than me and in much more detail. So to try to not make this video 40 minutes long, I will link to that video below. I'll make it the first one if you're interested. It's very fascinating, the walk the dog letter. And then she was supposedly in trouble for trying to sneak in white strips, get white strips brought into her, and those things are considered contraband because they have chemicals and stuff on them. And she got rid of her first lawyer. She is a new lawyer now, so that made the procedures take even longer. Then at the last minute, she tried to get a change of venue from her main location from Summit County to Salt Lake City. However, the change of venue motion was denied by the judge because they said that they share the same, they're very close together, and so because they're so close together, they share the same media pool, and the courts had denied being allowed to take people from both Salt Lake City and Summit County for the jury pool. They're like, nah, you're gonna stay in your lane. We're getting them from Summit County. It's big enough, and the Salt Lake City people, they tried to use a similar thing that Brian Koberger's lawyer worked for him in Idaho, where there was too much bias in the main county, so they wanted it transferred somewhere else, and they tried to use similar studies for that. And the lawyer argued that the prosecution tried to say that the defense team was doing it to try to buy time, and they said, no, we're prepared to go to trial. It's just that we had these results come back from a study, blah, blah, blah. And one of the best things that happened, I will clip it below for you to look at, but the two were arguing back and forth, and the judge made a decision. He was like, stop, both of you. It was like talking to children, like, who are arguing, like, yo, she's breathing my air, he's breathing on me. Both of you stop. We're done with this issue. Sit down. Literally what the judge said. Again, I will have that clip below for you. And then they put a stay on the case. Stay meaning that the procedures and motions will no longer continue forward for reasons. There was a whole slew of reasons just thing after thing after thing that happened, where there is a right now kind of an indefinite stay on the trial motion. So that trial is not happening at the end of this month. This trial is probably not happening this year. I can't believe that. But because of the change of lawyers, because of the venue argument, because of additional complaints and some other procedural arguments that were happening and some appeals that are going on, there's a lockdown appeal. So that means that while this is happening, there's an appeal happening at the same time, but it interferes with procedures and the judge doesn't feel comfortable trying to go forward with that. And so they are going to be hanging out in Summit County for X amount of time, and also Kouri Richins' desire to not have to be let out of custody during these proceedings and during the stay were denied as well. So she's going to be hanging out in a Summit County prison, still bonded, not bonded, still incarcerated for that whole time. And we don't know what's happening now. Yeah. And with the Diddy trial that's supposed to happen in early May, I think the exact same thing's going to happen just due to complications of the case. I think that one's going to get denied too. So that was the thing on Kouri Richins. Like I said, links will be below. Thank you for hanging out with me for this. I'm so upset that this was going, because I thought this was going to be like just a short, like 3-week trial or something, and I'd be able to boom it out. Now that's not happening, and my whole timeline of videos that I was going to do is now out of whack. So, I will see you all in the next one. Bye.